Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be concluding Captain Marvel Volume 1 with the last 3 issues of her first Space Avenger adventure. Wow, Space Avenger adventure. That's kind of hard to say. When we last left off with her, she had gone into space to become the Space Avenger, kind of representing the Avengers in space, and she came across a planet that had been poisoned, and the refugees from a previous attack had gone to this planet, and now they were attempting to move them off of the planet's surface. They asked her, what is she going to do to help? And today, you will find out. When we last left off, Carol Danvers had gone off into space to become the Space Avenger. And while she was up there, she had journeyed far and wide into space, eventually running into an interesting individual, an alien who was fleeing from a planet that had a problem with poison, and it was the home of refugees. Peter Quill of the Guardians of the Galaxy's father and his race of the Spartax decided that they were going to help the refugees by moving them off the planet. But when Carol arrived at the planet to offer her aid to those refugees, they told her that they did not want to leave the planet. And what can she do to help them? With Elenides seeing their plight, she calls for a council meeting and is quickly asked why would they listen to anything that the Galactic Alliance has to say. While the shouting continues, Elenides yells to everyone that they will have order. Let Captain Marvel speak. Carol begins to tell everyone to please listen to her. She is not their enemy. Her heart goes out to... But then the council starts yelling again, asking what good are her feelings? They aren't helping her. One of the members of the council then begins to stand up and says that she has something to say. Elenides calls out that the chair recognizes Sorna, Ek of Argon, and Sorna steps down onto the platform, telling Carol to please forgive their restlessness. For every one person they see here, there are millions of deaths when the Builders came. She then turns back to everyone, asking when they were attacked. Was it not the Avengers who came and defended them? Another of the crowd stands up asking, are you kidding? With all due respect, the Avengers have no place in our proceedings, if I may. Elenides calls out to Mr. Seppel of Sentimalt. Seppel then steps down, stating that there is a rather simple solution, and that is to leave them. Let the Sentimalt look after their ill. Everyone begins shouting that they will not do such a thing, and Sorna calls out that they will not let the Alliance extract them so that they can live on evacuation ships. As the crowds begin to grow louder, Elenides calls for order, yet no one listens. And then Carol flashes a bright yellow light, yelling, "Excuse me!" Elenides states that the Avenger has the floor. Carol then asks, what about if they had their own transport? What if they all could go? Don't they have their own ships? Both Sorna and Seppel tell her no, and then Carol asks why not. Sorna tells Gil to show the good captain their fleet. A few moments later, Gil leads Carol outside and says, "Ta-da!" And Carol says that this isn't a fleet, this is a junkyard. Gil then says he's so glad that she came halfway across the galaxy just to tell them they're doomed. Just then a Sentimalt steps out asking, did someone say doomed? My name is B329, but folks just call me B or B-Bomb. Tick whispers that nobody calls him that, and he whispers back, not yet. Gil says that this is a waste of time. The captain's idea sucks. And then a voice calls out that no, it doesn't. Her idea is solid, but her ability to carry it out is what is lacking. A female jumps out of one of the ships and shakes Carol's hand, stating that her name is Ja-Kri Luglut, warlord goddess, but you can call her Jackie. Jackie tells her, look, I like the captain's idea of getting everyone off this planet, but the issue is we don't have the resources. But before Jackie could go on, there's a low rumble noise, and Gil shouts, Hafensai! Seconds later, Hafensai's ship swoops down, causing everyone to jump to the ground, and Jackie quickly climbs into the gunner's seat of one of the ships and starts to fire back. As Hafensai's ship leaves, Jackie gets back to stating that the Alliance pulled their patrols, and now Hafensai comes and goes as they please. B then adds that the Alliance is starving them out and the half are speeding up the process. Carol then asks, how about they go out and get resources that they need to make a fleet, right now on her ship. A few moments later, as she flies into space, she asks B where they're headed, and he says Ursa 2 and 4. If they can't buy what they need, then it can't be bought. A short while later at Ursa 2, Carol shouts, asking, what did they just do? Tick, Gil, and Jackie come running back to the ship with armful of supplies, stating that they've remembered who they are and found their will to live again. Gil then yells that they just liberated a bunch of engine parts, and as Carol asks why they're running, Gil says, well, it's because we're being chased. Jackie then zooms by with Tick, stating that they didn't find any Hafensai, but they did find their buyers. Carol says, wait, you stole these parts? And Jackie tells her, well, they stole them first. Carol says, well, that's different then. She spins back, punching some of the men that are chasing the group, and while Harrison begins to take off, Carol stays behind to keep the attackers on the ground. When Tick looks back, she notices 2 men in the group and says that they're Spartax men. Carol then looks at them and says that they're Jason's royal guard. What are they doing here? But while Carol and the others were liberating the ship parts, back on Torva, Elenides speaks with Jason over a hologram regarding what they're going to be doing next. Jason tells her that they have 3 days. 3 days to organize an evacuation and transport 1,000 of their youngest and healthiest to resettle elsewhere. Elenides state that the others will die. And Jason shouts, the rest will die either way. She shouts that this is madness. He put them here. He volunteered a dead planet to them on the outskirts of his territory. In just a few years, they could have trade, and Jason just talks over her. Yes, I put you there, and now you're beginning to fall ill and die. So now I have to make a tough call. 3 days, and you will either leave or all die. Back with Carol. She lands her ship on Ursa 4, and Carol tells them that this time, Tick is staying with her. They're going to get a legit source this time. As everyone walks off the ship, Stegan, the half-Psi mercenary, leans out of the shadows, smiling. As everyone breaks off, Tick whispers to Carol not to look back. To her left, there's Spartax police. They may have been following her. And while Carol makes eye contact with the royal guard, she grabs a fruit from a nearby stand. Tick then notices a Nalian man collecting materials, asking why is he here. The man brushes them off, and as the royal guard walk up, they both ask Carol and Tick for their identification. Carol looks back and waving her hand, stating that these are not the droids that you are looking for. And as the guards just stare, she tosses the fruit, stating it was worth a shot, and she punches. The man with the material begins to run, and as Tick tackles into him, the man shouts that they are the people from the Galactic Alliance. Help! As an all-out brawl breaks out, Jackie flies overhead, calling out to Carol that they need to get out of here. Carol yells that she needs to get Tick back first, and while Carol flies overhead, Tick shouts from the crowd, stating, "Catch!" Carol reaches out, grabbing one of the metal pieces the man had, and as the crowd fades, Tick is nowhere to be seen. Carol starts flying around looking for Tick, but she can't find her. Carol gets frustrated, throwing the piece of metal to the ground, and then she notices something about the metal. There wasn't a scratch on it. She puts her helmet back on and radios back to Jackie, asking if they're sure that Half-Inside has been intercepting goods from Torva. Jackie responds, stating they haven't been on that planet long enough to manufacture anything, so there shouldn't be anything coming off of that planet. Carol turns back to the metal and hits it with a photon blast, and as the smoke clears, it reveals that there's not a dent on that metal. She says that she has an idea what this is about. A short while later, out in space at the Half-Inside caravan, a group of people are held in the cargo bay, and Tick asks if this is what they do with ships. Another person tells Tick that she shouldn't be asking questions. Bad things happen when you do. The two then look at a man asking one of the guards a question, and a few seconds later, the guard punches him. A short while later, those people are put to work moving cargo, and as a woman dumps a box of materials into a cart, Tick asks if this stuff has got anything to do with ships. Are they engine parts? The woman helps move the cart along, stating that it's metal. Builders wiped out the Spartax fleet, so now they have to construct more, and this metal is for that. Tick looks at the metal bar, stating that you don't buy steel to build ships in little packages. And the woman tells him that this isn't steel, it's vibranium. Later, back on Torva, Carol sits down with Elenides and explains what happened about them acquiring parts for ships and how Tick was captured. But while she does, Elenides asks, vibranium sickness? That's an archaic miner's disease. There hasn't been a case of that in hundreds of years. Advancement in mining wiped that out. Carol tells her that is correct, but those advancements are also slow to process. If someone were to try and get out quickly using old techniques. Jackie continues for her, telling her that byproducts would seep into the ground and the water. That combined with radiation, well, the symptoms are identical. Elenide states that there are no known sources of vibranium left in the galaxy. They don't even have vibranium mines. Carol takes up the piece that Tick threw to her and tells her that she's thinking they do. Half-Inside were transporting these. She hit it with everything and she couldn't even chip it. The Spartax have the tech to smelt it. If they were to be fortifying their ships with vibranium, Elenide says that they would rise from the ashes of the builder's assault with an indestructible fleet. But who's doing the mining? Sepple begins to walk out, stating that this is ridiculous, and Carol stands in his way, telling him she asked a question. B then says that it's the Sentinels, isn't it? Their exoskeletons filter their fluids and shield them from radiation. So Paul says, please try to understand. And Sorna asks, how could you? So Paul says, we had no choice. We lost our homes and our futures. If we would have waited without biomanufacturing, we would have died out. Do you know what that would do to our population? And B asks, so instead you wipe out ours? Elenide storms out of the room, shouting that the evacuation is off. Notify the medics to begin treatment for vibranium sickness. Until then, Gil, place Mr. Seppel under arrest until formal charges can be brought up. It is time that we arrange a meeting with Jason. As everyone steps out, a voice calls out stating that they have a message as well. The emissaries from before continue and tell them that they are all prisoners of the Spartax Empire. Carol walks up to the guards telling them like hell, and the emissaries state that the Avengers have no authority here. She's also been ordered to withdraw and go home. She begins to ball up her fist, but Elenites tells her no. If they turn the Empire away, they will just return with bigger guns. Carol says that she can help, but Elenites tells her that she is hereby ordering her to leave, tend to the business of the Avengers, and leave them to the future that they have made for themselves. Anger comes over her, but she bows and tells her, "Yes, ma'am." And as she leaves, Elenites tells the emissaries that she surrenders. Later, up in space, she begins setting course to rendezvous with the Guardians of the Galaxy ship. And Harrison asks, shall he prepare the sleeping quarters? Carol tells him no, he's going on ahead without her. She's going back to Torva. Harrison then asks, even though Elenites ordered you not to? And Carol tells him that Elenites ordered her to mind Avengers business. A dictator trying to take an unarmed planet by force? That's Avenger business. Once Carol gets suited up, she flies out of the ship and floats, stating she's willing to die here today for this cause. She has made her choice. Now they can make theirs. And in front of Carol is a large number of the Spartax fleet. Aboard one of the ships, a general asks Jason, how should they proceed? And Jason asks, do we really have to fear a flying Earth girl? The general says, no, your grace, no more than an elephant fears a gnat. As Carol begins to engage the forces in space, the explosions can be seen from the planet's surface. The emissaries ask, what is that? And Elenites tell them, the Avenger. Once Elenide's aides run up stating that there's a call on the communicator, Elenide states that she thought she told her to leave. Carol tells her she also asked if she could live with the death of her people on her conscience. She knew what was going to happen. If things here can be held back, any chance of them making some diplomatic magic? Elenide states that they will soon find out, and when she calls back, will she do as she's told? Carol says that she's a soldier. She can take an order. As the line disconnects, Elenides tells her aide to get B on the line and follow her. A few moments later, the call comes in to B, and he picks up stating that he found the mine. It's actually not that hard to find. Elenides tells him that he needs to evacuate. Get every living being as far away from that site as possible. Once the call ends, Elenides asks Jackie how many fighters are airworthy. And Jackie says, well, with what they got from Ursa 2, 2. Elenites tells her that that'll work. Gil and her get into the air and the coordinates will be sent to them soon. As everyone gets into their positions, Elenites tells Sorna that she has one final request, and that is to tell everyone to sit down. Sorna asks, sit down? And Elenites yells, just do it! She takes the communicator from the aide and patches into Carol's helmet and says that she's going to need her to go to the mines. Carol tells her that she's not sure she can get there before Jason and his fleet make it to them. Elenite says it'll be fine. Replacements are on the way. Just then, Jackie and Gil pop on the line, and Jackie says, one warrior goddess and one comically oversized goat at your service. As Jackie and Gil shoot into the ships, Carol turns and heads back to Torva, stating that she is en route to the mines. While she flies back, Jason opens up a line to Elenides and looks at everyone asking, what's going on? You're all sitting down. Elenides yells that there is no poison here. It's the vibranium. He didn't want them to know that it was here. He was the one poisoning them. Jason tells her that they all should have died with their homeworlds. I have tolerated your existence long enough, as it did not inconvenience the Empire. Now you do, and we will finish what the builders began. Elenites tells him no, they will not. Captain, blow up the mines. Over at the vibranium mines, Carol rockets down into the ground, destroying everything on her way. She says by the time she's done here, it'll take another 200 years for them to dig out these mines. Jason shouts that he will kill them. He will blow up this whole damned planet and not a soul will mourn. Tick then radios in from one of the Half-Size ships, stating wrong. The Half-Size aren't pretty, but they got connections. Network connections to every corner of the galaxy, and thanks to their help, those connections are open, and right now, everyone's listening. Carol flies back to the city and tells Jason that he better go before she finds where the other side of this project is. Because if she does, and lives to be 100, she will never come to terms with what she's going to do to him next. Jason looks at her and tells her, I will remember this. Carol tells him that she sure as hell hopes he does. With that, Jason calls back his forces, and soon the people of Torva are left alone. The next day out in the shipyard, Carol looks at the shuttle she repaired, and Jackie comes out telling her that she thought someone was stealing her shuttle. She was about to call the military police, but then remembered that they don't have military or police, and why is she out here all alone? Carol scratches her head, stating that she's never one for goodbyes. And Jackie tells her, well, then she can at least deal with a thank you. Because of her, they're free. So Carol hops into the shuttle and takes off onto her next adventure. There you have it, the conclusion of Volume 1 for Captain Marvel. Now, we're going to continually bring you more Captain Marvel storylines. I have found some old stuff from when she was Miss Marvel and became Captain Marvel, and we have some current storylines that I did enjoy that we will run. I will let you know right now, her treatment in Civil War II I did not like, so we're probably not going to be covering her post-Civil War II until they do something better with her, which they have been in the new Avengers book. She's getting good again. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this initial run for Captain Marvel. Did you end up liking the story? Did you dislike the story? And you can also chat with me over on Instagram at Comicstorian, where we give you panels and we let you get your opinions on various things on comic books. And we have a whole cool thing going on over there. It'd be cool to have you join us. Hope to see you there, and I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.